Armin had always thought love was simple, two people choosing each other, every day, despite the storms life brought. He'd never expected the storm to come from Sarah herself. It was late evening when she said it. They were sitting at the dining table, plates of half-finished dinner between them, the silence heavy but not unusual. Lately, Sarah had been distant, scrolling her phone late into the night, excusing herself for long walks, after work, her smile barely touching her eyes. Armin noticed, but he told himself it was stress, exhaustion, maybe even boredom. What he didn't expect was the brutal honesty that spilled from her lips. "Our marriage can wait," she said casually, pushing a piece of chicken around her plate. "I just want to have a one-night stand with my ex." The fork slipped from his hand and clattered against the plate, the sound sharp in the still room. For a moment, he thought he'd misheard. Surely, she hadn't just said that. "What?" His voice came out hoarse, cracking in disbelief. Sarah looked up at him then, her eyes calm, almost detached, as though she were speaking about some trivial errand. "I just need it, Armin. One night, with Ali. Then I'll come back to you, and everything will be fine." Armin's mind reeled. His heart hammered so violently in his chest he thought it might burst. He searched her face for some sign of a joke, a flicker of guilt, anything. But all he saw was determination. He swallowed hard, the taste of dinner suddenly bitter. "Sarah, do you even hear yourself? You're asking me to sit here and wait while you sleep with another man. Your ex." She dropped her fork, annoyance flickering across her face. "Why are you making this so dramatic? I just need closure, that's all. Ali was my first love, and things ended too suddenly between us. I've been carrying this curiosity for years. If I don't deal with it, I'll always wonder. Don't you want me to be sure? Don't you want me to come back to you without doubts?" Armin felt as though the floor had given way beneath him. Her words weren't just careless, they were cruel. She wasn't asking for forgiveness for a mistake already made, she was asking for permission to betray him. He pushed his chair back slowly, the legs scraping against the floor with an ugly sound. He gripped the table edge, his knuckles white, as if holding on could keep him from unraveling. "Sarah," he said, his voice shaking but rising, "I married you because I believed we were enough for each other. That I was enough. And now you're telling me that I'm not, that you need to go back to him just to be sure." Her jaw tightened. "It's not about you not being enough. It's about me, about my peace of mind." Armin let out a bitter laugh, though there was no humor in it. "Your peace of mind, and what about mine? What about the wreckage you'll leave behind? Do you think I can just sit here like some placeholder, waiting for you to decide if I'm worthy of your love after you've tasted someone else?" Her face hardened, and for a moment, he thought he saw guilt. But then she crossed her arms and said, "It's just one night, Armin. One night out of a lifetime. Why are you acting like it's the end of the world?" Something inside him snapped. "Because it is the end of the world." His voice echoed in the room, louder than he had ever spoken to her. "The world I thought we had. The vows we made. The trust I gave you. All of it ends the second you walk out that door to be with him." Silence stretched between them. He could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall, each second mocking him with its rhythm. Armin's mind was a whirlwind. He remembered the night he proposed, kneeling in the rain because he couldn't wait until they got home. He remembered her tears of joy, her whispered yes. He remembered their wedding day, the promises she made, the laughter, the love. Every memory now twisted like a knife in his chest. "Tell me something," he said quietly, his voice trembling. "If I came to you and said I needed one night with someone else, would you accept it? Would you wait for me to come back?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. She looked away, as though the question itself was an insult. "That's what I thought," he said bitterly. He couldn't sit there any longer. The air was too heavy, the walls too close. He stood, his legs shaky beneath him, and walked to the door. "Where are you going?" she asked sharply, a hint of panic in her voice now. "Out," he said without turning. His hand lingered on the doorknob, and for a moment, he wanted to look back, wanted her to call out, to beg him to stay, to realize the madness of what she had said. But the words never came. So he opened the door and stepped into the night, leaving behind the life they had built together, now crumbling into pieces. Outside, the city was alive with noise, cars honking, people laughing, neon lights glowing. But Armin felt nothing. He walked aimlessly, the chill of the evening seeping into his bones. His phone buzzed in his pocket, but he couldn't bear to look at it. All he could think about was her face, calm and almost defiant, as she spoke those words. Words that had torn his heart from his chest. He found himself on a park bench, staring at the ground. His chest rose and fell in ragged breaths. "Why, Sarah," he whispered to the empty night. "Why wasn't I enough?" But the night offered no answers. Only silence, broken by the rustle of leaves in the wind. The night Armin walked out, something inside him cracked open. He had never imagined that the woman he'd trusted with his soul could look him in the eye and suggest betrayal as if it were a reasonable choice. He spent that first night in a small, cold hotel room, staring at the ceiling, unable to close his eyes without replaying her words, "Our marriage can wait. I just want a one-night stand with my ex." They haunted him, louder than the traffic outside, louder than the muffled TV through the thin wall. He lay awake until dawn, his body heavy with exhaustion but his mind refusing to rest. The following days blurred together. He went to work, but his thoughts wandered constantly. Numbers on the screen swam before his eyes, and his colleagues' voices sounded distant, like echoes in a tunnel. He ate little. He avoided friends' calls. Every time his phone buzzed, his stomach twisted, knowing it was her. The messages were relentless. Armin, please answer me. You're being unreasonable. Why are you running away instead of talking? Ali doesn't mean anything, I just need closure. You'll see, after this night, everything will be normal again. Each one was like pouring acid on a wound. Normal again. How could things ever be normal when she was willing to burn their marriage just to satisfy her curiosity? On the fourth day, as he sat staring at the untouched coffee on the hotel table, Armin made a decision. He couldn't live in limbo. He needed answers. He needed to know if Sarah truly understood the gravity of what she was asking. So he went home. The apartment smelled of lavender, her favorite scent. She had cleaned, lit a candle, even cooked his favorite dish, as if those gestures could erase the words she had spoken. When he stepped inside, she rushed to him, her eyes bright with relief. Armin, you're back. I knew you'd come to your senses. He set his suitcase down by the door, his face unreadable. I came back to talk, Sarah. Nothing more. Her smile faltered. What do you mean? Armin took a deep breath. His voice was calm, but it carried a sharp edge. I mean that if you still want to be with me, then you choose me. Now, not him, not a one-night stand. Me. But if you walk out that door to Ali, don't bother coming back. There won't be a marriage to return to. Sarah froze. He could see the war inside her, the pull of her past versus the reality of her present. She wrung her hands, her lips trembling. Armin, it's not that simple. I've lived with this question for so long. If I don't face it, I'll always wonder. Don't you understand? His jaw clenched. What I understand is that you're willing to gamble with our marriage for the sake of curiosity. And I won't be collateral damage in your search for closure. Tears welled in her eyes, but Armin wasn't moved. It's just one night, she whispered desperately. No, he said firmly, his voice low but unshakable. It's a lifetime of consequences. That night, they didn't sleep. They argued until their voices were raw, circled the same arguments until silence became the only answer left. By morning, Sarah packed a small bag. I'll regret this if I don't do it, she said softly, her eyes glistening. And I'll regret it if I let you, Armin replied. His voice didn't waver. She hesitated, searching his face for weakness, for some crack in his resolve. But all she found was steel. So she turned, and with slow, deliberate steps, she walked out. The click of the door closing behind her felt final, like the slam of a coffin lid. The days that followed were worse than the first week. Armin had thought the uncertainty was unbearable, but the reality of her absence was worse. The apartment felt hollow, her laughter replaced by silence. He found her hairband on the bathroom counter, her sweater draped across the chair, little ghosts of a life they had built together. He tried to eat but tasted nothing. He tried to sleep but dreamt of her with Ali, every detail painted by his tortured imagination. He woke up sweating, his heart racing, the sheets tangled around him like chains. One evening, he found himself standing in front of the mirror, staring at his reflection. His eyes were red, his face pale, his beard unkempt. He barely recognized the man staring back. Why wasn't I enough? He whispered to his own reflection, his voice breaking. But the mirror gave no answers. A week later, his phone buzzed with a message. He almost ignored it, but something compelled him to look. It was from Sarah. I made a mistake. Ali isn't who I thought he was. He's selfish, arrogant. I felt nothing with him. I realize now what I've lost. Please, Armin, give me another chance. Armin stared at the screen for a long time. His heart clenched. Oh, how it wanted to forgive, to cling to what was familiar. But his mind was clear. Forgiveness wouldn't rebuild what she had broken. Trust, once shattered, couldn't be glued back together like a broken vase. His fingers hovered over the keyboard before he typed. You didn't lose me because of him, Sarah. You lost me because of you. Some things can't be undone. He hit send. Then, with trembling hands, he blocked her number. Months passed. Healing was slow, but it came in fragments. He started therapy, pouring his pain into words, learning that grief was not weakness but a necessary passage. He forced himself to reconnect with friends, to walk in the park, to try new things he had once postponed. At first, every laugh felt hollow, every smile forced. But gradually, the emptiness loosened its grip. He began to feel lighter, stronger. He realized he hadn't just lost Sarah, he had lost a version of himself that accepted scraps in the name of love. One autumn evening, sitting in a quiet cafe with a book, he caught himself laughing at something a stranger said. A woman at the next table smiled at him, her eyes kind, her laughter genuine. They exchanged a few words, nothing serious, but for the first time in months, Armin felt something stir, a spark, small but real. He walked out of that cafe with a smile, the cool air brushing against his face. He wasn't rushing into anything, wasn't clinging to someone else to fill the void. He was simply, moving forward. Sarah had broken his heart, yes. But in the ruins, he had found something precious, self-respect. And now, each step he took wasn't away from her, it was toward himself and the future waiting patiently ahead.